So a grade 12 student asked me recently, Dr. Ling, how do you add two vectors together and how does a vector work? And I said to him, it is not as hard as you think. Watch this. So a vector is basically a line that has a size or magnitude, in other words length, and a specific direction. Key point. So if we have our axes defined here in 2 dimensions, x and y, which you've seen before, I could draw any old line like this, say this is my vector, as long as we have a specific direction. Hence we have an arrow saying that's going this way. This is not the same as if we draw the same line going the opposite way. Neither is it the same vector if we take the same length of line and change its direction. So for example, if I change that so it's going like this, we now have a different vector. If we change the length, we now have a different vector. So specific length or magnitude, specific direction. And this is a vector which is always denoted as v for vector, and little arrow on top which means it has a direction. Now, supposing we want to take two different vectors and add them together. Supposing I take this first vector, supposing I take another vector, and I'm going to say maybe just like that. Notice, different direction, different magnitude. By the way, if I drew a third vector that looked like this, same direction, same magnitude, even though it's in a slightly different location, it is considered the same vector. More on this later. Back to our first two vectors. Because we can take a vector, and as long as we don't change its magnitude or direction, if we just slide it around, like in that other example, it becomes the same vector. So if I take this vector here and slide it over here so that the beginning of the vector and its end coincide like this, what we have is a situation in which we can start at this end, go towards where the arrow is pointing, continue at this end, always going towards the arrow, which is why it's pointing that way. Like a one-way street sign, you don't go the wrong way down the arrow, otherwise you end up with a crash. In physics or calculus class, if you go the wrong way down the arrow, the teacher gives you the big zilch, which is the goose egg of sorrow. If you don't know what that is, you don't want to see it on your report card. So, we have these two vectors. To add them together, we take them and we join them end to end. So we start here, go towards the head of the vector, start here where the other one left off, go towards the end. Our net journey now looks like this. This is where we started, this is where we finished. So we can make a third vector, and this is our net vector. Let me show you a better example. You remember those things you used to play with when you were a kid, or something like it. If we have, say, a one-way tube that goes, say, this way, if we join it up to another one-way tube, it has to join so that the end of one tube starts at the beginning of the next tube. We can't join them backwards like this, otherwise they don't work together. But if we join it so that we go start one tube, finish, start the next tube, finish, now it works. More sophisticated example, live movement. Woo. So here's one vector here. If I join it correctly so that we have start, finish, we can now take our journey from the beginning using this white magic ball. If you can't see it, you'll just have to zoom in. Suppose I could come closer. And what we do is we start here at the tail of one vector and it goes towards the head of that vector where the arrow is pointing. So here it goes, down that way, down this way, ends up here. So our net vector started here, ended here. Dump, da-dump, da-dump. Which of course we could draw as this third arrow here. Starting in this vector, heading that vector. There goes my marble. So, if you don't really understand it, try it a few times and trust me, it'll come to you. Because I can't sit here all day. You can replay the video, but I can't keep saying this over and over again. Having said that, in the next video we extend these concepts, and as Arnold famously said once in one of his movies, I will be back.